Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we got to welcome in back the prodigal pony killer himself, C Money. I was going to say mustard, but I figured, all right, you've been out for a couple of weeks. Let me just ease you into the olives. How you feeling, brother? Let's go.
Doing well, man. Doing well. Glad to be back. Had a busy last couple of weeks. Last week was a fun time with the daughter, 16th birthday. So we had a great,
big deal.
Great
big
day.
Deal.
So yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic time, man. But I'm glad to be back. Fun to see everything going on this week. Has been amazing already.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. What a time to be an Xbox fan. What a time to be a gamer.
Yeah.
As long as you got the pockets for it, you know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, gaming's expensive, right? There is one place though that you can game some more, all for a low price of $20. And if you are a good shopper, well, you can get it for half of that. And that's Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. Again, no commercial here, folks. We don't got to sell the brand. What we do have to open up today's show with is exactly why I'm thrilled, tickled pink, if you will, to have C Money back here. And I'm going to tell you why. So the other day, C Money, I'm not sure if you saw, because obviously you've been super busy. I did an appreciation post for many of the Twitter and X content creators. And so you're asking, what are you talking about, Boom? Content creators? Yeah, I would consider them content creators. And that is, of course, everyone that goes out of their way to post, and then repost importing breaking news that a lot of us YouTubers use for our shows. And in that, and it's a long list, folks. You have Clobreel, you have Okami 13 _, you have Ecstasies, you have my God, who am I forgetting? I should have just wrote down the list.
There's a lot.
There are a lot of them, but there was one gentleman from the UK that I left off the list, and it wasn't being scandalous. It wasn't because, he didn't belong there. There are a lot of people that do this, right? Obviously, Shinobi 602 is a part of that conversation.
Oh, like Tom Warren,
Tom Henderson, Jez Corden. I mean, we're talking some of tip of the spear, if you will. There was one name I did not mention, and I want to give him credit because it's because of his post today that we're having this original content of discussion, and that is Snap Blast Play. He is from the UK, right? Snap Blast consistently talks positive about Xbox.
I mean, he's reformed again because he did have his moment where he went.
He kind of got a little upset with the multi-plat thing. Yeah, listen, everyone is allowed to have their thing. And then eventually, because there are so many great games happening on their platform of choice, it's hard to stay away or hard to stay angry. Well, what we're talking about specifically today is something that you've heard me specifically talk about on Primetime Gaming with Hargeet Chani as well as Kay Asante. But C Money and I have also had this conversation, and now this is the third or fourth time, C Money, that this has happened. And why this is such a pointed conversation is because Snap Blast Play is, from what I understand, on the other side of the pond, right? So what is on the other side of the pond? Well, that is PlayStation land. And PlayStation outdoes Xbox in regards to console sales. What is it, 5-1 now, 6-1? Is it 7-1? I don't know. But this is where this conversation gets super pointed, and then we have to introduce and welcome in C Money. C Money, I'm looking at the top 5 sellers on PlayStation's top 10 right now. 5 of those games are Microsoft and Xbox first-party games. Now, I've had people, when I posted this, push back and say, oh, well, they're not really considered Xbox games anymore.
I
They're
saw that.
they're multi-plat. So thank God for PlayStation, because without PlayStation, well, Xbox would be dead. And
Oh my God,
I'm reading this and I'm thinking to myself, because we don't do the names thing here, but we don't want to embarrass anybody. But someone actually did say that, and I find that to be not only egregious,
they're cracked out,
but that is ridiculous. So right now in the UK, on the PlayStation Store, Xbox has half of the slots of the top 10 selling games on that platform. That is Indiana Jones, that is Call of Duty, that is Minecraft, Forza Horizon 5, and Elder Scrolls the Oblivion Remastered. I mean, folks, I want this to be clear. Whoever's going to clip this, please, by all means, make sure you clip it at this point. This is the new PlayStation. And I'm going to tell you this right now. What we saw yesterday with Sony's Ghost of Yotai, solid. My God, I cannot wait to play that game. If there's a collector's edition, you bet your ass I'm going to buy it to go right alongside my collector's edition I have with Jin right here in my shelf. Love the first game. Gonna love this one. But like I told you this in the green room, and I will say it publicly. For every one Ghost of Yotai that PlayStation has, Microsoft and Xbox are going to have 5 and 6 first-party games dropping onto that platform, both new and old, and they're going to take up the slots that Sony can. Listen, let's call a spade here, ladies and gentlemen. Sony is just not the same, and they cannot keep up with the amount of studios and, more importantly, the amount of money that Xbox is throwing at these studios to make these games. Let's break this down, bro.
Well, first of all, we've definitely talked about this. We've said it so many times that this is just it. This is just it. This is just what they are going to be from now on, right? And this is what we told her on our show. My boy Pharaoh Bizarre brought something up to me that, it just became the thing that I always think about them. And he said, like, PlayStation is destined to be like a Valve, where they have a massive platform that people go to and purchase games from, and every once in a blue, they drop a game, right? And I mean, honestly, that's who they are. They're a store that dabbles in game making, right? They make a game every once in a blue, and this is just what it is. I didn't know how, like, the ponies were going to cope with this. Like, I was trying to find, like, I was thinking, like, what type of angle are they going to try to take to, self-soothe the situation, as they know that everything they do is just amplifying our Game Pass, right? And I was just trying to think about it, but now seeing some comments that was that were made, so the idea is that Xbox is third party now, quote unquote, so they're not considered first party. So now their games are good. Now their games are good and exciting, and
they're no longer mid, because that was the running narrative.
Yes, because they're not first party. That's the pony. That's the pony narrative. That it's so ridiculous that they can't just see and just be happy that Xbox is showing up for gaming outside of their own box. Like, just be happy, because the most exciting shit you have going on at PlayStation is Xbox. No matter how you cut it. Everybody who's talking about a game right now is talking about either a game, excuse me, that is a first party Xbox game, or a game that Xbox players get el gratis, right? What game has come out in the last couple months that it was a huge impact and it wasn't in Game Pass or Xbox first party? Nothing. Okay. That is exciting, right? Obviously, Assassin's Creed came out to, however that was look. I find it very good. But you brought up the fact that Ghost of Yote, they just dropped the trailer.
Yeah.
First of all, excuse me. The fact that they just came out and just said, here's a trailer. First of all, on the day that Oblivion got announced and released, first of all, there was no competition there, right? The world is excited for Oblivion, right? Yep. Ghost of Yote is, I got to tell you, I watched it. I definitely think it looks better than what they showed last time, right? So that little snippet they did, but you're still in the same boat. For me, when I look at the game, as soon as it goes to gameplay, we're back in, might as well be a PlayStation 4 game, right? Obviously, the PS5 version of the PlayStation 4 game, because it doesn't look that dissimilar to Ghost of Tsushima. You got more particle effects during the cutscenes and things like that. But overall, it doesn't look, no matter how you cut it, it doesn't scream, hey, we made Ghost of Tsushima run on PlayStation 4. Now we have the quote unquote power of the PlayStation 5 exclusive. Let me show you what we can do. Nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Like this, go look at Hellblade 1 that released on PlayStation 4, and then go look at Hellblade 2 that released on Xbox Series X, right? That is something.
Leaps and bounds.
That is showing you skill and talent, right? That's showing you, look at what can be done by a talented team and a skillful team with the right support, right? Whereas, again, Ghost of Yote, you see it right from the first reveal that they did when they did their little the write-up on it. They said they wanted to make it, they wanted to build on what they already did, right? Which that's exactly what this looks like. It looks like they took the PlayStation 4 version and just kind of upped it from there a little bit. I was watching the trailers back to back, looking at the PlayStation 5, Ghost of Tsushima, and then Ghost of Yote. And it's like the particle effects, I would say, is the biggest change that they've made. Facial stuff, tiny bit improved, like nothing drastic, right? Which is, not what I signed up for when I bought a PlayStation 5, right? Like that wasn't the goal. The goal was, I looked at what they did on the PlayStation 4 and said, man, if they made The Last of Us look like this, then imagine what they could do on the PlayStation 5, right? If they could make Ghost of Tsushima look like this, imagine what they could do on the PlayStation 5. Same thing with God of War, right? All their main games, it was like, okay, these look great on a PlayStation 4. Imagine what they'll do on a PlayStation 5. Well, apparently I forgot to leave in the part where their brokenness would allow them to go no further. They pretty much maxed out at the PlayStation 4 level, and they're just putting a little sauce on top of it, taking the base PlayStation 4 game and just adding to it, as opposed to making a game that actually is going to be a PlayStation 5 only game that looks like it, at least. If these games are built from the ground up for PlayStation 5 and this is the best that they could do, I mean, that just proves more that they've lost what they had in the past. But at the end of the day, right, when you look at what is happening over there and over here in gaming in general, Xbox has like vaulted themselves to the top, right? To the top of the pot, man, no matter how you cut it. This is the new way for Xbox. And like, I know the Switch is just coming out. Were you able to get your 2 Switches?
Yeah, I was up at midnight. GameStop crashed today. Somebody in the chat said, please, no Switch talk. We're not going to spend time talking about the Switch.
No, we're not talking about the Switch.
I was able to get 2. I was able to get 2.
But you
one
did
for
get
me
it?
and one for Tyler. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we could have gotten it in the car. I was like this close to getting it, and then I was like, Doodle kind of asked me a very simple question. Okay, you buy this thing. What are you going to stop playing to play one of those games? And I couldn't answer. I mean,
it's a
the
fair
answer
question.
was nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was going to be bought, and it would sit there. Maybe we would play once with everybody. The kids don't care about the Switch now. So
Right.
getting a new Switch wasn't going to change anything for them. And I was massively disappointed by Metroid Prime, the new one. So there's just nothing. There's nothing there for me. So I didn't get it. But the point is that once that is out, right, Xbox will also be doing the same thing over there, having their games on that platform. So, Xbox kind of spreading its wings, putting the best games that are out available in the market now onto these other platforms and just raking in all the money. That is where we end up with a game that's out right now that's crushing it, Expedition 33, right? That's how we end up with that bad boy.
Game of the year
Game Pass.
in Game Pass. Yeah,
absolutely. Right. That's how this happens, right? As they continue to fund, we're actually going to be able to get more, right? Xbox is going to be able to fund more of these deals and fund more of another little bonus that we had, which was the Ninja Gaiden, right?
Yep.
Ninja Gaiden 4. That's coming out. How? Published by Microsoft. What is happening? We're getting it day one in Game Pass, right? These are the things that are going to keep happening. And it's great for gaming, right? It's funny because I think that there's a big confusion about what has happened. And at the end of the day, it is a wrap. It is a wrap because Xbox has changed the narrative completely. They've completely changed the game. There is no losing for Microsoft, right? There is no losing for Xbox at this point, unfortunately, for all the people who might want to see it differently. There's only winning, right? Gamers on Xbox who have Game Pass subscriptions are the ultimate winners in all of this.
I got a saying that just popped into my head that makes sense.
Do it.
My enemies' customers are my customers.
That's right. It's true. It's true. And it's so crazy how this has happened. Right? It's so crazy because I think a lot of these dudes, they forget that we're in it for what? We're in it for the games, right? We're in it for the games. And if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're the only group of people who are able to eat at such an extravagant restaurant for nothing. You know what I'm saying? For buffet prices, right? You get to you pay your fee and you get nothing but greatness in there non-stop. How Microsoft said, yeah, go ahead, build up, Sony, sell those consoles. I got a little something for you. And then literally took all these customers, bro. Where's the excitement? Yo, even now, I don't see very much talk about Ghost of Yote, and the trailer just dropped. You know what I do see? All the ponies streaming Oblivion.
And Forza Horizon 5.
And Forza Horizon. Again, and Indiana Jones before it, right?
Yep.
This is what I'm seeing. They said, and it's funny because I think it was Farrell as well who brought it up on my show, but it's I don't know if you covered, you probably didn't cover it, but there's a PlayStation podcast called What's Up PlayStation or whatever, and they're after their 200th show, they're going to call it quits, right? And their biggest reason, right, is that Sony doesn't give a shit about them. Right, that Sony won't give them codes. They can't do interviews. They can't do anything. I think codes was less of it. They wanted to be able to have interviews and do things, and Sony just doesn't cooperate with them at all. So they're like, all right, we're done. And how funny is it that came out, right? That podcast came out. They came out here saying, man, we're done because PlayStation ain't doing nothing for us. And then Xbox goes ahead and says, hey, PlayStation guys, you want to play some Xbox games? Here you go. Yo, how are you going to have the biggest PlayStation streamers or the biggest PlayStation personalities out here having to big up Xbox games nonstop?
Yeah.
Yo, this is crazy what Microsoft got these ponies doing out here, yo. They got the ponies tricking for them. Yo, it's one thing for Microsoft to go ahead and be like, yo, ponies, you are mine now. Buy my games. Is another thing, but they're like, yo, go put in that work. Go put in that work, pony. Bring me those customers. Damn, yo, we said it before. I always said it.
Oh
Xbox was gangster company out here. What they doing out here is crazy. And on top of that, they're gonna take their ponies and make them fucking twerk out in the street.
The chat must be cracking up, man. I can't compose myself. Sorry.
Oh my god. Oh shit. And then it's funny. Then you got the ponies come in and they, we already know they don't watch PlayStation shows, right? Their only joy in life is to watch an Xbox show, right? So they come and they watch Xbox shows and they learn about it there. Then they go watch their ponies and they're like, oh my god, this is so great. These games are amazing. I'm gonna go buy it and I'm gonna support Xbox and all the Xbox players Game Pass subscriptions forever. Oh my god, this is phenomenal. It's
a turn of events I don't think any of us could have actually seen. And again, this is, and that's why we're not running $3 trillion companies, because I know, and I've said this before, folks, look, I make no excuses for being an old man and kind of still wanting, for many, many months we've talked about it. I understand the business, so I understand the third-party mantra. It is what it is. I've accepted it. I've moved on. But, again, it's just, if you just pause everything for a second, right? And I've seen some people run with this, and they're honestly not wrong. Like, I'm not mad at Xbox for going third-party. And in the beginning, like a lot of us, we were disappointed because right now, Xbox is hitting on all cylinders. And wouldn't it be something, at least for console sales specifically, if you wanted this game, like, the old Peter Moore days, you want this game, you come into our console to play it. That is not how business runs today, and it has not been running like that for quite some time. But even with all of that said, we are witnessing something that I don't think anybody here, including C Money and myself, could have imagined, that at some point there are going to be more games coming from Xbox via first party. And of course, that includes Activision and Blizzard and Bethesda and Xbox Game Studios on PlayStation and Nintendo than their own first party. Think about that for a second. And then you turn around and say, wait, how does that benefit us? How does that benefit the Xbox? Right? Well, how that benefits us, very simply, is we get more investment into Xbox Game Pass. And investment into Xbox Game Pass means games like Expedition 33 and Blueprints and things of that nature from third party, from indies that are going to want to line up and put their games where everyone is playing. And because you can play your games everywhere now, that is what Microsoft, and more specifically Phil Spencer, has been driving towards. And so we get into the conversation of, well, Boom, who's going to want to buy an Xbox? And that answer is very simple. As a matter of fact, shout out to Paris Lilly, who asked Phil Spencer specifically when him and Danny Pena interviewed him, why am I going to want to buy the next Xbox? And he told you, and we've been talking about this for months, because their console is going to be so drastically different than the Switch 2 and the PS6 that you're going to want to buy it. And people like me who don't use PC gaming as an outlet will look at that console and be like, wait a second, I have become a Steam customer because I can access Steam and good old games and potentially Epic Game Store on this box, plus my Xbox Game Pass and my collection. That is a winner chicken dinner. Folks, I'm telling you right now, the playing field is changing right before your eyes. And the start of this conversation, C Money, before we get on to why we think another shadow drop is happening in June, and I'll let you finish your point, is 5 out of the top 10 games that are paid for, that are available in Xbox Game Pass for your subscription fee, are ruling and running the show on PSN. That is something to be had.
Agreed. It's just, you know, I gotta say this is the reason why, you know, it's so important for, and I guess, listen, not everybody can understand it or has the ability or desire to understand it, but this is why, you know, when it was all going down, we made such a big deal about all these people who were supposed Xbox fans losing their minds about this whole situation. And it's like, yo, like have some foresight. Like, who do you, like, if you were in the desert, okay, if you see two people and both of them say, hey, follow me, I'm gonna lead you to water. One dude looks like they're dying, they haven't seen water for years, and one dude's holding water bottles like, hey, follow me, I'll take you. Who are you gonna follow? I don't know, maybe the one with the water bottle, right? If I'm looking at who is been leading the way in business decisions for all these years, are you going to follow the guy who's been at $100 billion for how God knows how long, and no matter how good a certain product they might have is, they could never elevate from there? Or do you look at the people who were started after that company and managed to be from a small dude to one of the biggest companies in the world in the trillions? Do you think maybe they have some idea of what is to come, right? Maybe, I don't know. If you had to put your bet somewhere, I would bet with the people who know what the F they've been doing, right? We've already seen this entire logic play out already. And maybe they don't know. Maybe people haven't been aware of the fact of how Microsoft made moves to get to where they were. But Microsoft used to be just like Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. They had a walled garden of their own Microsoft services, right? Microsoft services used to be only on Microsoft products. So if you wanted Office, you had to have you had to use Windows. If you were Apple, if you owned an Apple product, you could not use Office.
Yeah.
Any of the stuff that Microsoft makes, you couldn't do it. So much so that Apple had to make their own versions of this stuff. And Microsoft said, you know what? Why are we trying to force people who don't want what we have? They prefer Apple. Why are we trying to force them, no matter what we release, no matter how good, they will still stay where they are because that's what they like.
Yes.
Why are we going to keep hitting our head against the wall, right? And keep doing this pretending where if only we release so many games, people will come. No, we're not going to keep doing that. We're going to go ahead and understand that at the end of the day, all that matters to us is people are playing our games. People are out there marketing our games for us because why? They can't get away from it. They can't get away from it. You got ponies who are nonstop playing Xbox games and they're talking to their friends about these Xbox games and people are buying these Xbox games. Doesn't matter that it's on PlayStation. Doesn't matter it's on Switch. Doesn't matter where it is. People are buying it because Xbox has gone ahead and done what everyone thought was impossible. And they have already successfully implemented their Microsoft strategy that they use with Apple. They've already done it on PlayStation and it's already proven successful. Why? Boom, you said it already. And this is what we were talking about. They release games. 5 of the games out of their top 10 purchased games are Xbox games. This is not even counting the mainstays like what you see on the screen, which is Call of Duty, that is owned by Xbox. I don't care what position they were in when Xbox owned them. The money clears in Xbox's account now, right? So this Minecraft that just had an amazing movie, right, that boosted up sales for Minecraft again. This is the new way, man. This is the new way. You could say what you want. You can feel what you want. I saw Dark Tribe in the chat real quick, and he brought up Persona Speaks. Looks like he's fed up with PlayStation. I watched the clip of them on doing their show, and they all seem like they're fed up with PlayStation. They all seem like they are. Like, it's just anybody who is being real. You can't say that you're excited about what PlayStation has for you right now. You can say one day I'm going to be excited to play Ghost of Yote if that's your jam, right? But then after that, what? And before that, what? PlayStation got delivered. I know people want to bring up Death Stranding too. Sure, it'll be on Xbox and on PC. No problem. Just like the first one is, same deal, right? But let's be real, it doesn't matter. That's not a PlayStation studio. Okay. So I know that they want to be excited for that, but they got to pay for that game just like everybody else. There's no difference, right? So outside of Ghost of Yote, what do you got? Marathon that's coming out of first party. That's exciting. That's not exciting, right? That's not exciting. So at the end of the day, no matter how you cut it, I think everybody on the other side of the fence would do themselves a nice service by stopping the BS, stop coping with the situation in a negative way, and try to find a positive way to deal with your feelings. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much you want to believe that now that Xbox is putting their games in other places, that somehow that is Xbox losing, in fact, it is them winning. It is the dollars coming in. It is Xbox Game Pass subscribers winning tremendously. Let's stop with the bullshit. Let's call a spade a spade. You hate what you don't have, right? You hated Xbox games until when? Until Xbox put their games on your platform. Now you love them.
Yep.
Now you love them. Just is what it is. You hate Game Pass. Why? Because you don't have it. Guess what? Those same people who are talking shit about Game Pass, calling it Poverty Pass or Brokies or whatever.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Are they paying for PlayStation Plus?
Yeah, they are. And they're not getting a lot for their money. That is for sure.
Interesting. They're paying for PlayStation Plus. But if Sony wasn't a piece of shit, and for the same price of their PlayStation Plus or premium or whatever they're paying, they got first party day and date games, and Sony actually invested in putting day and date third party games on a normal, consistent basis. Would they also think that they were subscribed to a broke service, a service for broke people? I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. It's funny because they talk shit, but they're doing the same thing. They're just not getting what we're getting. See, this is the problem. This is the separation. PlayStation, Xbox living the same lives, except they don't get what we get.